No. Okay. Ugh. Why yogurt analogy? Why the word yogurt analogy? I think that was the best way to explain or to express what I want to do here. First of all, I want to welcome you to the first ever yogurt analogy. The first ever. I hope it's not going to be the last. Hosted by React from Luxembourg. My name is Pande Trajkov. I come from Macedonia. I'm a volunteer here. As part of my volunteership, we're going to explore all the themes and craziness and madness that's going on through my head and talk about stuff that I think are important, or I think they have some kind of importance to me at least. In this podcast, you're going to hear talking about interesting hot topics that are happening around the world, topics that are concerning me, or at least I think they are important. We're going to make interviews basically with other volunteers living in Luxembourg about their experience there in life. We're going to talk about Luxembourg, the history. Is it beautiful? Is it not? There is castles and so on, so on. Why yogurt? I liked yogurt. Since I was a kid, I loved yogurt. Yogurt is good. Yogurt is everywhere. I love it in all different shapes and sizes. No matter how you spell yogurt, for me yogurt is yogurt. I don't care. All I want to know is what kind of yogurt they have. The spelling, I'm gonna leave it to the professionals. You can eat it, you can drink it, you can use it as a beauty product, medicine product, I don't know, on your skin basically when you get sunburned as a child in the summer especially. There is a lot of different types of yogurt, frozen yogurt, low fat, fruits yogurt, everything that comes to your mind there is. It's universal, you can find it everywhere. In every store. The most important thing about the yogurt is a product that is made by bacteria. So if there is no bacteria or outdoor influence to the milk, the yogurt cannot be produced. That's the cool part here. Like you need those microorganisms to help you make the yogurt. So you cannot be a yogurt or you cannot do the yogurt if you don't have some help from the outside. Here in the heart of Europe, life is very dynamic and interesting, and as a person who comes from the other side of Europe, basically from the Balkans, I can feel the connectivity and the multicultural aspect of the country. Hundreds of different kind of nationalities. Luxembourgish people, you have French people, German people, Portuguese, Italian. I met some Cape Verde people living here. Luxembourg for me is like the perfect picture of what Europe should look like a multicultural society that has those common goals and aims that we all wanted to do. We share those goals and we're trying to move forward, get closer to that future, that dystopian, distant future that we're all dreaming that one day we're all going to be a society that is going to have equal opportunity to everyone, equal treatment to everyone. You're going to feel home and you're not going to feel like an outsider or a person that doesn't belong there. I live in Eisenborn. Eisenborn is a village 15 minutes by car from Luxembourg City. Public transportation is free, so I don't have to worry about transportation, especially as a volunteer in a foreign country. I take the bus every day from Eisenborn to Luxembourg City. My first memories of yogurt are when I was a kid, around 4, maybe 3, but not more than 5. My father sometimes had the daunting task to make breakfast for me and him, especially when I was like in the afternoons at school and he had to go to work in the afternoons because he was working in a power plant factory in 3 shifts, and my mother was always in the first shift, so basically until 7 o'clock in the morning she will be gone. Usually she had prepared some breakfast for me, but sometimes my father would have the daunting task to prepare the breakfast. To spice things a little bit, my father never cooked breakfast or lunch or anything, He just know how to boil some eggs and that's it. The worst thing on paper that can happen to anyone when you have a person that doesn't know how to cook. I remember when he didn't have any idea what we were gonna have for breakfast, he would just crumble the bread and put it in a big bowl, pour the yogurt in it, and we're gonna have like fresh tomato, cheese on the side. Oh my god, it was beautiful. It was amazing, and the food was amazing, and I can still remember the taste. I don't know, like usually people think that it's a parent neglecting, like if he doesn't know how to cook. But actually for me that was the moments when you have father and son eating together or making food together. Oh, we can do stuff like that, no matter how poorly we did. It's a fatherhood life hack that I didn't realize at the moment, but now as time goes on and as I grew older and I realized what is important, not important for me, it's more than obvious that memories and that first encounters with the yogurt were actually a very good bonding time between father and a son. The yogurt continued to be part of our lives for the years to come, actually. For me, it was not just ordinary breakfast, but a special food bonding moment between father and son, and those are very strong and happy moments from my childhood. Isn't that what every parent wants, that the kid, to make the kids happy and to look up to their parents? It was like a burek place. Burek is a pastry food which has again Turkish, I guess, origins. There was like a burek place in the main street in my town, and when I was a kid, me and my father would go there. He would order a quarter of burek, which is like a minimum amount of burek which you can get from a pie. A quarter is pretty big piece for a 5-year-old kid. Yogurt to go with the burek, with the pastry, and the combination of those two tastes, they're always going to represent my childhood. And I feel the smell of fresh pastry and yogurt. For me, that's one of the tastes and the smells of childhood. Let me go back to the story. So we order 1/4 burek each. I'm 5 or 6. My father is a grown man. I would eat the whole thing, and usually my father was like, can I get you another one? Can I get you another one? Obviously I couldn't eat another one, but he was just so impressed that, how can this little kid enjoy and eat so much? But it is what it is. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to talk. Luxembourg is a small country in the heart of Europe, surrounded by France, Belgium, Germany. The capital is called Luxembourg City. Official languages are Luxembourg, French, and German. And Luxembourg is one of the capitals of European Union, and it's a city that is selected twice in their history to be something. Capital of Europe, or the world, or the universe. I want to talk a little bit about movies, especially movies that have different interpretation and versions of the same story, but they are just told by a very different perspective. The movie is called The Joker, which is basically the most famous villain in the world. I don't think there is a person that doesn't know Batman and the Joker. Last year, the movie caught people's attention and imagination because it was like a very different version of that character. They portrayed him as a very realistic person, not as a two-dimensional comic book character. Can do good or evil. Basically, you try to find empathy in the character. The story is set in Gotham City, where Batman and Joker lives, but it looks like New York in the 70s, It has a lot of garbage in mostly every scene you see. You can hear there is a riots. There is like a lot of hostility between the politicians and the people. The whole city is before bankrupt. The distance between the rich and the poor is getting bigger and bigger. The story involves a young man called Arthur who works as a clown and who wants to be a stand-up comedian. He lives alone with his mother, and the first thing we notice about him is that he visits a psychiatrist and that he has some kind of mental disability or laughing disorder, definitely. Obviously, Arthur needs help, and that Arthur is not a person who he thinks he is. Everyone was just like, wow, a dark version of the Joker, which was totally fine and surprisingly good to watch, cinematically speaking. But for me, the most interesting thing is where that movie got that inspiration. Joker's inspiration doesn't come from a comic book standpoint. It actually comes from another movie made in the 70s called Taxi Driver. That was very obvious for me when I saw it first time in the movie, because both of the movies tackle very similar themes and about loneliness, about mental health, about how the government is treating their own people, how people are perceiving the government, how society looks it's on the brink of very big nuclear disaster from a social standpoint. You can see in both movies tensions that evolves around the character. You have a story about a struggling city who has no money, bankrupt, whose people lost their hope in their politicians, and they are looking for a hero. They're looking for someone, a symbol that they can mark their fight or the time they're living, where Joker comes very naturally. One day he completely flips out, and he notices in the train where there's like 3 young Wall Street guys harassing a girl. He flips out and kills them in cold blood. The point is that the movie plays in a way that you as an audience feel that you have empathy about the character. You see it from his standpoint of view and you try to understand, accept the fact that the character's choices are not entirely his. The movie which I was talking about in the seventh part by the same themes that basically Joker inspired from. Young man who is driving a taxi, who is a veteran, war veteran, and who through his night shifts through town, he sees only the bad picture and the bad image that the city and their people are giving. We follow the character to complete madness, and it's portrayed in a very similar in the Joker, where we just meet the character, and as we meet the character and meeting the city, in the end we see the journey of the character, how he goes to complete madness. Joker explores themes of mental illness, feeling of social disregard towards society, and most of all loneliness. Taxi Driver has the same themes. It's about decaying city. It's more like the city is going mad than there are people. The similarities in the both movies are obvious. At least the sets, Gotham is basically a copy of New York, so still we have the New Yorkian style inspired Gotham City in the movie. In the both movies, the city is a supporting character. We see his own struggles, the garbage, the strikes, the dirt in the streets. The main protagonists are lonely men who fight with their inner demons. They have some kind of mental problem and issue that usually society just rubs it off and says it's not important. The city is basically finding a new hero in the killer in the clown suit. He becomes a symbol of repression and a hero that the city needs in those particular times. Or so we think. The movie is told by Joker's perspective. During the movie you can see how he bends the truth, how he perceives some events to his own benefit, how he sometimes ignores the facts and try to invent stuff that are not there just to make the whole point of it. We all know who is the Joker, like the whole world know who is the Joker and what he is capable of, but this time in this movie we feel compassion or sympathy towards the Joker, even though we don't know if it's justified or not. The audience takes the same steps as the character. He kills just to protect other people, so in his egocentric world he thinks that he's the hero of the story, that he needs to save people, that he needs to clean the streets from the metaphorical garbage, basically, which are the bad people in his head. The origin of the word yogurt is considered to be Turkish, which means to be thickened. My name is Pande Traikov, the first ever yogurt analogy. Ciao.